All right, let's call to order the party. I mean the board meeting for the Honors Knights Memorial Library. Board of Trustees for Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bella? Here. Trustee Meadow?
Here.
Trustee Rule is not here. Trustee Smart?
Here.
Trustee Samari?
Here.
Trustee Sucklett?
Here.
President Zip.
Here. Any public comments?
So we had an event back in June. We've been on hiatus since then, but we had an event, Passport to Fun, just kind of a scavenger hunt in the neighborhood. And we also had a book sale in the parking lot. To go along with that, that made about $9,000. So people really enjoyed it. We got a lot of great feedback. So we'd like to try that again next year. We'll have to figure out the timing on that, but really enjoyed that. The August book sale that we got about a month ago, made $24,000. So that was fantastic, especially for a summer sale. The next sale is going to be the first weekend in November. That is exactly for the first full weekend in November. So look forward to that. And then we have 4 new board members. So Mike Braun and Christy Hartwell are new directors. Sue Gottschalk is a new treasurer, and then Susan Siano is a membership chair. And then a couple additional funding efforts we're looking into. We've had good luck selling the tote bags. Sorry, my voice is just shot. We've had good luck selling the tote bags. We're looking into some possible other swag that we could sell for sales. And then John Dustman, who's our correspondence chair, is going to be looking into some grants specific to friends.
Very much. Foundation.
So before I start, I just was reminded that it was 5 years ago that I met some of you in this very room. Wow. I know, right? And you immediately gave us the challenge to raise $150,000 for a commercial kitchen. That was really fun. And here we move forward. First, I want to say on behalf of the foundation, I want to thank Debbie for all of your service, for getting me into a project that I never really saw coming, but I've enjoyed it a great deal.
And I called you when you're on vacation to ask.
Called me on vacation, and for being friends. So best of luck to you, Jim.
Thank you.
So the summer we took off so that some of our committees could work and we didn't have to just focus on board work. So I think I talked to you a while back about our scholarship task force that working through. We started last September, and the task force diligently every month met. And at this point, we are ready to, on October 1st, that QR code on that will go live, and we will kick off our scholarship for the trades. We, the task force has now been dissolved, and the 3 board members that were on it have gone back to doing other things, myself included. And we have a chairman, John Hartnett, who was an advisor initially, and then he was on the task force, and now he is chairing that, and he has now become the director on our board. In order to fund this, we are hosting our first full fundraiser at Maker Place on November the 4th. We've worked with downtown businesses. Chef Grace and some of the other chefs in town are working with us to put together a 5-course dinner. It's $500 a seat. We have 4 seats in the kitchen at the chef's table for $1,000. All funds will go to the meal and to fund the scholarship program. So we're working on, I've got a team that's working on swag bags for the evening, and all the items in the swag bags will have been made or represent the Maker Place. Our annual appeal is ready to go out. We're just waiting for an updated brochure. As I said, we're 5 years old, and it's time to get our own brochure together, as well as when we started with our initial brochure, we were really riding on your coattails. and we didn't have any of our own contributions to give. And now we have a different story to tell, so we're changing that up. So that will be in our next, when they're ready, I'll make sure that you all get a copy. So the information on the back of this, we also have this in poster form, and that's going in the village. We've worked, I've met with John Riddler Chamber. He's sending this out electronically to all 800 of their members. It's going to go to Public Works. I've even like some to plaster all over the library. So the QR code will take you to our webpage, and there'll be a scholarship tab that we've added, and it will have, so this is just sort of an outline of what's there. There'll be much more information, so people will have much more information on who, what, when, where, why, how. The application is done and will be available through our tab on January the 1st. It will close on March 1st. We have a bench of 14 people that have agreed to be readers. We've told them we don't know how many we're going to need because we have no idea how many applications we're going to get. The task force, before they finished, not only did they come up with the application form, but they came up with rubrics to give our readers so that they can make some informed decisions about why it's a 4 and not a 8. So that's what we've been doing. You have any questions?
I do. What is JPM?
So the family,
Oh, is that the family?
the family whose son electrocuted himself, they were initially going to name it after him. And I don't know what happened, but they pulled the name and have asked us not to use the name. So I don't know if going forward they'll feel better about it.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get questioned. Mike and I had this question. Mary has questioned me about it, but they really didn't want their name associated with it.
So basically, but there'll be 3
There'll
scholarships.
be 3 scholarships. 2 are coming directly from the foundation for
One, oh,
25.
and one is
and
from the
one from
family.
the
I
family.
see. Yeah.
When he died, they collected a lot of money,
Mhm,
and they have been holding that. And they're
mhm.
trying to find a scholarship program to support makers like their son. And we were a good fit for them. So Pat Maroney, the father, is now a member of our committee.
Will
scholarship
will
committee.
their money come into the foundation and then just be,
It's a pass through.
well, I didn't know the whole amount that they collected.
No, I don't,
okay.
well, I don't know that they trust us enough.
Okay. It would, well, it would be,
So I think down the road that may happen for tax purposes
Yeah.
or whatever.
oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, so this is all really new to them.
Yeah.
Their son died, I think it's now 4 years ago,
Oh,
and it's very emotional. It's very emotional. I think we brought him on midway through the task force. We brought him in, and he made some good suggestions and changes. We brought her in this year as one of our auditors. She's a CPA, so that, she could look at our books and see how we manage things. So we've been trying to be very transparent. And they're, of course, supporting our fundraiser. But that's, and I know we're gonna get questions about that a lot. And for all of you, when you get questions, it's just the family would like to keep it that way, at least right now. I thought it would be a nice way to honor him. Have a name scholarship,
yeah,
and maybe
either one.
they'll change their mind as we get closer and we actually award the scholarship next year
Yeah, the-
at an event.
the First name, last name,
Yeah,
scholarship. that-
right.
Yeah,
Right, so, I'm playing it by ear,
yeah, that's what you have to do.
right? Yes,
Are you working with the high schools? I forget what the department's called, like Project Lead the Way is. The high schools have
Industrial. arts.
industrial arts and that kind of.
so to answer your
Department.
question, before I set the task force up, I approached Bill Dessling to serve on our task force. And Bill said, I don't have time right now, but I'll give you Laz Lopez.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So Laz has been on our task force. He's also going to serve on the committee. And he has taken 28 flyers,
Yeah.
posters, to
Right.
post through the high schools.
But
We're also going to sponsor on January the 6th. They have an institute day that day. And Laz has told us that if we offer those folks and the counselors food, that they will come over and we will entertain them. We'll make sure that they get a great tour. They'll get great, and we'll talk about this too.
Well, and I know that every one of our high schools, when they have the scholarships in the spring, you know, they list all the scholarships that kids get, and each school does it differently. Sometimes they have a breakfast, sometimes they have something after school. But if one of our recipients are from one of our local high school schools, I would like encourage you to make sure that they're listed in the brochure, you know, they're listed in the graduation brochures, they're honored for their scholarship, and certainly I
It's another
think
way
we
to
would want to
promote it.
be
Mhm, that's a good idea.
included in that. And all 6 of the schools have those. It was sort of an engineering track. Part of it's engineering, part of it's, I mean, it's all this stuff.
We'll
But
certainly
those
talk
schools,
to
yeah.
Les
And you know
about
what's nice about that is because, you know, I've been involved in this with Rotary and attending the high schools and giving a Rotary scholarships. But so many of them are academic, they're
Right.
all academic, and
Right.
this is special and unique.
Right, it is
And-
really
and,
interesting.
You know, sometimes you wonder if students, well, they shouldn't, and, you know, they shouldn't, but, you know, feel, well, I'm not going to a four-year college and, you know, there's no open, you know, nothing for me.
Right.
But now there is, and I
Yeah.
think this is wonderful.
So we have a press release that's supposed to hit on October the 1st, that's all. Everything's in the can, it's all ready to go.
Right.
We're just moving forward. To your point, I will ask Laz about how we can include that.
It just makes, I mean, almost students in all those classes, and there's tracks that start freshman year, but by
Sure.
senior year, they're really competent in a lot of different areas, and a lot of them, students know what they want to do or study, and I just feel like a lot of them might fit this.
Yeah, and I
profile.
think the conversations, as long as when we make the connections
Right.
with continued connections
Yeah.
with 214,
Yeah.
those are great conversations.
And
to have.
Viter too, because this is Viter family.
It is, we had, John went to Viator.
Yeah.
So we can do that. We have no illusions that any student from Viator will even apply. Because that's pretty much a college factory.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
four-year
Well, but
college factory.
I would
But
say-
we have the conversation, we keep the door
Yeah.
open, but we are not,
Mhm.
there are no illusions that we're gonna.
I guess I would just say that in the past couple of years, the high schools list what colleges kids go to. There's Viter students that go to Harper, so, you know,
Okay,
and Christian Liberty perhaps as well. I mean, just to make sure we're hitting all the high schools physically in
Sure.
Arlington Heights.
sure, we'll do that.
But this is amazing. I think it's gonna be really well received.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Move on to action item 1, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting for August 16, 2022. Trustee Smart,
I move approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting of, is it August 16th, 2022?
Yes.
Okay.
I second.
any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That passes. Let's move on to, what are we on? Action item 2, approval of minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of September 6th, 2022. Approval.
I move the approval of the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of September 6th, 2022.
I'll second.
Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That one passes. Let's move on to item 3, review of the financial report for the period ended August 31st, 2022.
We did not receive real estate tax receipts in the month of August. The library received personal property replacement taxes of $6,490.55. Our copier printer revenue was $3,762.23. Lost item charges totaled $1,394.43. Our donations totaled $496.36. We did not have any reimbursements for Friends or Foundation this month. Other income was $622.74. Revenue collected for vehicle stickers totaled $340. The makerspace miscellaneous revenue was $301.90. And our total revenue collected in August was $37,669.69. On the expense side, 67% of the fiscal year has lapsed, and we've expensed 61% of our total operating budget. The favorable variance to date is $884,929. And 62% of our total annual capital budget has been expensed as of August. That is everything I have for tonight.
That's a good question. So for the year, how much have we gotten from the PRPT?
CPRT,
Yeah. Right here.
placement checks right there, right?
289.
Yeah, 289, 257.
Wow,
There we go.
impressive.
Any more questions? Comments on that one tonight?
I have a question. So our meeting room fees look so much higher than anticipated. What is that? Is that like Maker Place?
Probably, I'm
No.
guessing we probably estimated low for meeting rooms because of COVID for this year. And, you know, the people are using them more, people are going back to the library to use it for that's probably higher than anticipated. I'm guessing, Tracy, do you have anything to add to that?
That's fair.
And then the interest on investments really popped this month.
It did. Do you want to speak to that at all, Tracy?
Yeah, just interest rates are rising. They dropped significantly in the market last year, and we did double check with the village on that. That's just better interest rates happening.
Good.
To your point, Amy, I mean, you look at things too, like the copy reader printer fee, I mean, that one. We're already past the annual estimate, things like that. So it's just interesting, those kind of weird little income areas that are just. Wow.
Revenue is hard to budget for. You just kind of do that.
Right, very good. Any more questions? Comments? Okay, let's move on to action item 4, then review of the check register for the period ended August 31st, 2022.
Okay, a few checks here to go over. On page 1 and page 11, check 83939 to Scholastic Library in the amount of $5,701.08. This is for Bookflix, which is a literary resource, and Scholastic Teachables, which is educational materials. The digital subscription renewals, the total cost is $10,975. So an additional $5,273.92 is on page 1 as a prepaid. Also on page 1, check 83964 to Williams Associates Architects in the amount of $3,745.80. That is for construction documents related to the Kids World redesign project. On page 2, check 83890 to HR Source in the amount of $5,000. That is for the market benchmarking project kickoff and work completed in August. So that is the salary compensation study that we're doing. On page 3, check 38944 to Sikich for $7,650. That is for our 2021 audit fees. That was for work performed in 2022. On page 4, check 83847 to B&H Photo and Video in the amount of $9,294. That is for 3 Apple Mac Studio computers and monitors for our communications and marketing staff. Also on page 4, check 83896 to Image Systems and Business Solutions in the amount of $3,996. That is for a new copier, public use copier. Exactly. On page 5, check 83873 to Covenant Security Equipment in the amount of $9,100. That is for a new drive-up window to replace the one we currently have. The new one is budgeted for this year and will include a drawer to separate the staff from customers. 5 again, check 83901 to Johnson Controls Fire Protection, the amount of $2,020.46. That is for fire alarm deficiencies repair in August. So we had a study done and had a few things we had to repair. On page 19 and 20, check 83856 to Biblioteca in the amount of $20,692.95. That is for cloud library, e-audiobook, and ebook licenses. On page 22, check 83837, Alpha Construction and Restoration Group, the amount of $4,080. That's for masonry repairs at the Maker Place. So they're replacing limestone panels on the east elevation. It's a 40% deposit. The total cost will be $10,200. And that was budgeted for this year also. On page 23, check 83959 to Veterans Plumbing and Sewer in the amount of $2,416. That is for plumbing work and materials at the Maker Place, also known as the Art City. that we also
No,
longly been waiting.
Where's
Oh, I
Andy?
know.
I know.
And the
Cool.
picture was
Memorial.
awesome
Here's your
too.
plan.
Yeah.
Here's the plan right now.
So that is all I had for the check register.
I have a question. Yeah, so on page 3, 83878, I'm just curious, what is the wellness room sensory?
So that is actually, Maria's here. She can speak to you exactly what that is.
So there's a company that makes rooms for sensory rooms, but they also have mobile carts so that you can take, it has like an audio feed and you can also hook up to. So it's essentially something that can go into the has drawers so you can put different adaptive tools or sensory supports inside. And we wanted something that was mobile so that somebody else wanted to use it. I used it this month.
Yeah,
I had
nice.
developmental flavor, so that's.
Cool. And I have to ask on page 6, 83927.
That's, let's see.
Bed bug inspection, I was just.
It's just an inspection.
Yes,
Just an inspection.
we do a bed bug scan every 6 months or so. So that is what it is.
Good to know. Thank you.
Found them once or twice.
We found
You don't have to go there.
No.
Tell him my last name.
Just an inspection.
What was it? Was it Displays Library? of Detroit?
Yeah.
No, Displays.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay,
Any other questions?
we're good. Okay, do we have a motion for approval of check register?
Move that we approve the accounts payable check register of August 31st, 2022 in the amount of $1,140,000, $35.05.
Second.
Any more comments, questions on this? Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
Trustee Mendel?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Simbari?
Yes.
Trustee Suplet?
Aye.
President Trump?
Yes. All right, we are moving on now to item 5, correct? Kids World Brief, oh, no, sorry.
Director's report.
Sorry, Executive Director's Report.
Okay, no problem. So I'll highlight a few things from the director's report this month. We have 2 big things going. First of all, on the first page, the museum adventure passes return. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but this goes back a number of years where we offered our residents museum passes. That program was fairly popular. We ended it for, I'm not exactly sure the reason why it was ended, but we did reevaluate it based on customer feedback and staff recommendation and decided to bring it back. That's after an 8-year hiatus. So this program launched again on August 22nd, and in 10 days, the library issued 18 passes. And after the program was promoted on social media, the website and email, we received over 200 requests. So this is a really nice benefit to our community where we can offer passes to museums or discounts to museums through this service.
So what kind of, I was wondering, what kind of, I mean, is it like the Art Institute, those type of things?
Yeah, I don't know if the Art Institute's on
Shed
there. I don't think so. Maria, do you
Chicago
know?
Children's
It
Museum.
is not all of the largest attractions.
Yeah.
It's, but there are a few children's museums, but not Chicago. Chicago Botanic Garden is on there.
Okay.
Brookfield Zoo, I think.
Brookfield Zoo
Yeah.
is on there,
Then on that same page, I just want to point out that we received a new sublimation printer at the Makerspace as a donation. This is a really great piece of equipment to transfer photos onto mugs or a number of different materials. So if you haven't been over to the Makerspace recently, it's just go there and make a mug or something. It's pretty cool. And then on page 2, just continuing with the Makerplace theme, there's a picture of the new art sink. This has been a long time coming. There was some discussion, quite a bit of discussion with the village and permitting and stuff like that for this. It took us a little bit of re-engineering to make this work due to the plumbing that's over there. So we are thrilled to be able to say that that art sink is finally installed. And it's unfortunate Andy's not here tonight because this is the moment she's been waiting for. Then on that same page, toward the bottom there, the library joined the Arlington Heights community for National Night Out on August 2nd. We had fun giveaways and crafts table to offering activities and resources about monarch butterflies. Families came inside the bookmobile to cool themselves and chat with staff. Library staff interacted with 172 people on a hot fun summer night. And on the next page, Heritage Fest. So Heritage Fest, the first multicultural festival in Arlington Heights, took place Saturday, August 27th on the grounds of the Arlington Heights Historical Museum. This new free and family-friendly event was organized in collaboration and partnership with the Village of Arlington Heights, the Arlington Heights Memorial Library, and the Arlington Heights Park District. Attendees had the opportunity to discover and experience diverse cultures and activities. 418 people visited various countries' tables, enjoying a diverse variety of performances, food, and meeting with staff and local members of cultural organizations. The library offered 3 stations to highlight Hispanic, Italian, and Japanese American heritage. This event marked the opening season for One Book, One Village with a pop-up table and highlighted the upcoming Japanese American programming of various historical, cultural, and culinary varieties. Book discussions at the library and around town in this year's in-person author visit. Then on page 5, our summer reading was back in full swing this year. Thanks to school and outreach visits, eye-catching graphics, and a streamlined program, customers lined up outside the library on the morning of June 6th to be first in line to register. Youth Services staff registered over 500 customers on the first day alone. The momentum and excitement continued throughout the summer with help from summer reading interns and teen volunteers who staffed the summer reading desk in Kids World. Throughout the summer, 2,968 youth from birth to high school participated in the 2022 Summer Reading Challenge, which is double last year's participation and approaches pre-pandemic levels, which in 2019 we had 3,122. So we are right on the heels of 2019 numbers. So congratulations to the staff and thank you for your dedication and your work on that.
Awesome.
You guys want to talk about summer reading at all?
I think it was so great to see. I walked in that morning and there were so many kids lined outside. It was just so great to see. And it was just a department. We saw a lot of traffic.
You know, and I wonder if there's any demographic changes, because my sense in working in schools is there's fewer kids this age. And I guess my point with that is that we're probably percentage of kids in Arlington Heights or whatever, right about where we were. I mean, I don't know if we have that like granular detail, but that's super impressive. That's great.
Okay, then on page 6, I'm going to mention the Teen Film Fest. So this was the 16th annual Teen Film Fest. It was held Friday, August 26th. It was the first festival in person in the library since 2019. We had 17 unique films submitted by teen filmmakers from 7th grade through recent high school graduates. 10 submissions were screened at the fest. After each screening, the teen filmmakers had a short conversation with amazing judges receiving feedback, encouragement, and insights. Judges this year were Shelley Nicole, a cultural critic and recent emerging critic grant recipient from the Chicago Film Critics Association, Annette Bonachene, a film historian, and Professor Brian Bednarik, a digital media specialist and video editor. 119 members of the community attended the fest to celebrate the filmmakers. The judges handed out awards for best acting, best story, screenplay, best camera work, editing, best special effects, and best overall film. And then afterwards, attendees gathered in the hub for the after party, and that was held after library hours. There were games and photo booth screenings of other submitted films, as well as a mocktail bar and movie theater sets. You guys want to add anything about the Teen Film Fest?
I think the only thing I'll say is I think as far as attendance, it was one of our highest attending Teen Film Fest. I mean, going back, I would say probably at least 10 years. So it was just a lot of different parts.
Okay, then on page 7, the library's 9th annual One Book, One Village initiative launched at the end of August, highlighting Naomi Hirahara's Clark and Division. Running through November 2nd, this year's outreach will include tables at various community events, book discussions with other organizations, and specific efforts to connect with Japanese and Japanese American community in Arlington Heights and the surrounding area. As a giveaway, staff have created origami bookmark craft kits, complete with a set of instructions and 2 beautiful sheets of origami paper. So another major initiative. Let's see, then Into the last page, page 14, I just want to highlight one of the staff highlights. So our genealogy and local history librarian, Nikki Camp, was appointed iRead adult liaison with the Illinois Library Association. The iRead committee produces a summer reading guide, which is made available statewide for libraries seeking guidance, programs, and strategies for summer reading programs. So congratulations to Nikki. And then I just want to point out the numbers this month. Just kind of looked interesting. Our library visits are up 23.9%, which is about almost 10,000 visits. But if you look at print is down a little bit, and our program attendance, while it is up, is not as significant as the number of people coming in. So this is kind of showing us how people are using the library a little bit, well, a little bit differently than what we're used to. People are coming back in the library to use conference rooms, to use the study tables. You know, as Trixie mentioned, you know, the large number of people that came in for the film fest. So there's about a 10,000 person difference there. But we're not seeing the spike in the print materials. We're not seeing the spike in, you know, we're seeing a small jump in program numbers, but it's, you know, if you look at that ratio, it's not quite the same. So people are coming back to the library for other things, you know, program or for use of the services within the building. So I just want to point that out.
On my way up, I saw a friend of mine who is, he's working with one of the experts in learning how to, I guess, use Google Calendar because he's coming off Microsoft Outlook. How would his visit be counted?
As just a library visit, he would probably be counted in a one-on-one appointment if he
Right.
created a one-on-one appointment.
Right.
So that would be.
So he would be counted.
Yeah,
Or-
he would definitely be counted.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of different ways that people are coming in that might not, you know, maybe they're just coming in to do research on something and they do their research and then they leave.
Right, and a lot of that may not be reflected here, but
Right.
we have very granular
Yeah.
statistics, you know, that our staff look at.
Yeah.
Decisions after, so.
Did I ask this one before, Mike? If you do the story time in the park,
Is that counted?
is that counted?
It's counted for program attendance. I don't believe it's counted for
It should
library
be.
visits.
We started doing that a couple years ago because if you had the story time in the library,
Right.
you count it.
Right. No, that's a good point.
And if you had the story time in the library, you count it for programs and you count it for attendance.
Sure.
And we started doing that a couple years ago because we do so many programs outside. We call it in the community.
Or even yoga in the, you know,
You're gonna power-
yoga in the park.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. Because if you did yoga in the library, they'd be counted.
Right.
And in the park, they're not getting counted, so. And that will increase your figures. And again, we just call it in the community. something
Yeah,
like that.
okay. Okay, no, it's a good point. Any questions about the director's report, or-
Awesome.
Okay, now, let's move on to old business. Old business. Item 5, Kids World Refresh.
All right, Carrie's here from Williams Architects and to give us an update on the Kids World project. As I mentioned in previous meetings, we've had a little bit of a hang up with some of the plumbing in the Lindsay room. So we've been working with the village. We really took the stance of let's get this stuff figured out before we go into the project. We could have issued the drawings as they were and then dealt with it afterwards as an add-on, but we didn't want to do that. We really wanted to take a step back, make sure we got this through the village and figured out all of the things. So there's to minimize surprises, both financially and time-wise, once we jump into the project. So Carrie, I'm going to turn it over to you, but Greg, you might want to, because I'm going to bring
I'm gonna get blinded.
yeah, exactly, presentation up here. So Gary, give me 1 minute and I will bring this up and share it with the people.
Good lesson learned on the making space. Mhm.
I'll just quickly go through this presentation we put together. As Mike indicated, I'm stepping in for Andy here tonight. He unfortunately had a conflict and couldn't be here this evening, but Mike just did a great recap of where we were and where we are now and the reasons why. So we'll just kind of explain this presentation. So we'll go relatively quickly. So just to kind of recap what Mike already said, we discovered some plumbing and electrical issues. We decided it was best to take a step back and get that stuff resolved. See if there's going to be any cost implications on the project. We just recently, within the past week, gotten all those approvals with the city. We realized we don't need any additional work, with the plumbing, we're able to look at the electrical, what we're able to do. Probably didn't have another panel, which would have been costs. So we just got that all resolved within the past week, so we are now at the point that we're ready to move forward to the construction documents. Our estimate is that we will have those done and ready in the SMC's hands by the end of next week, so that they can begin working on our contract documents and start soliciting the project for bid. Next slide. Kind of the resolutions that we kind of already talked about, the village did approve, the use of the sink, discharge that we needed for the Lindsay room. There really is not a lot of additional costs. There's minor additional costs because we do need to take the electrical a little bit further because the existing panel that we were hooking to is already full. So we do need to go one that's a little bit further away. So there are some additional costs, but not extensive. The electrical. Some of the cost additions that we do have are being offset with the fact that we are no longer doing the front entrance into Kids Grove. There's been a lot of discussion before about if it was still going to be open, if it was going to have doors, if it's not going to have doors. Due to the current budget and kind of this understanding of where we wanted to take the entrance in the Kids World and whether we want to have the doors or not, we decided at this point just to remove that portion of the project. To one, keep us with the budget, and two, until the library staff decided really ultimately what the decision was there. If we wanted the doors, so the removal of that did help offset the costs on some of these additional costs that we didn't foresee with the opening. This was the previous budget that was presented to you guys, I think from Andy. The current, at that time, the budget was $431,62. The budget is slightly over the $400 budget that you have. It at this point include a 5% escalation and a 15% contingency. So if you look at those two numbers added together and then what the budget was at, you see we're just slightly over. Those numbers did include those contingency costs, which we are not used during construction. Next place, and now the current budget is at $419,700. So we're still slightly over, we're less than what it was previously. And again, we did bring down some of the escalation and contingency after reviewing everything with SMC and plus, as well as some things we've already discovered that we took a step back and completed before we decided to move forward. We felt comfortable reducing those percentages slightly, and to bring us a little bit closer to the current budget. And these cost changes do reflect us removing the front entrance as well. So this is right. Next slide. So we are still slightly over budget. We have been talking a lot with staff about things that we may or may not include in the project, things that we're looking at including as alternates. So one of the things we are considering an alternate item is doing tile on all the walls in the wellness room and the restroom down in Kids World. The additional hub study rooms that we talked about, so that's going to be listed as an alternate. The soffit that we all know is welcome to the kids area, kind of that dome soffit in there. That will also be listed as an alternate. And then we did have kind of maybe some interactive areas in the Kids World. We're going to have maybe like right on the wall, and that's listed as an alternate. Some of the things we did talk about, if costs do become an issue, ways to remove some costs if needed. So we talked about taking out some potential specialty lights or those things that the library can work on their own. So it's possibly some cost savings there. And then we started looking at finishes throughout Kids World, things that we could possibly remove. Do we eliminate the addition of the LVT areas? We can show that on the next few slides. Do we eliminate some of the areas that we had flooring put in based off cost savings there? So, we're starting to look at some things that if there is a budget issue, we do look at costs where we eliminate a few things. So it's really having a huge impact. The wellness room in the bathroom was a good need, as well as in this wellness room. So we want to make sure the top priority items stay within the project and budget. So currently we are completing bid documents. We're actually going to be done, like I said, in the next week and a half to have everything go out to SMC. And when you might have more information, I know we talked today with the SEC, but our plan is to have drawings to them by the end of next week. They will work next month in October to get all of their contracts together, the bidding process. Our plan right now is to be back in from our to get board approval to move the project forward, so. Additional.
Yeah, just the big thing, obviously this timeline is shifting. And bringing this back at November COW means, November board meeting approval, puts construction starting probably December. We know this is not going to be a long project, but it is probably going to roll into next year. So Tracy and I have had some initial discussions as to what that is for the budget. So we'll probably reduce the capital expected expenditures for this year and then increase it for next year to accommodate that change.
SOC will develop a construction schedule. We'll have a better idea of that once bids are completed and receive them back. At this point, they don't have the construction schedule together because, as you guys are all aware, lead times on items constantly change from week to week. So at this point, they didn't want to, get a schedule out there saying what they thought the lead times were going to be. We wanted to get the project, we wanted to work project, and then they were going to look at what current lead times were at the time before it did. And kind of do that. So we have a better idea, but as Mike indicated, we are looking at completion.
Yeah, so the completion, I'm just thinking, as a, no doubt you've all already thought about, is like winter time with kids and like everybody moves to the library. So the completion in the beginning of the next, like June, I mean, I know you can't say, but like that's the thought.
That's the thought from SMC is that they're looking around January. There's a few long lead time items. We have a couple of doors that we need. Doors have an excessive lead time right now. With doors, 24 weeks. So it just kind of depends at the time where we need SMC, most of the contractors or materials. So there's a few things that we can look at to like, hopefully we get these completed, these open it quicker, and then we have to come back and put a couple levels in. But that's just, I know, yeah. Ideally, it's not the best time to do some of the work, especially knowing that most people are stuck inside and want to go places to get out of the house. And the good thing is a good portion of, the kids will still be open and available for, kids to use, so. That.
Yeah, and we can, as we get more information from SMC, as they, because they're looking at lead times now and stuff, we'll be able to work with the staff to determine what that best timeline looks like. And maybe we can, even phase it out a little bit longer now, since, since they're not going to be starting construction for them, but later, maybe we start with the staff or something. I don't know. We'll talk with SMC and with Williams about, trying to make that the most efficient use of time and least disruption to the public.
The goal is to keep construction as short as possible. So like, we know there's some things that have really long lead times, like they might hold for 6 weeks to start anything because they don't want to start something and then now you're sitting for 6 weeks waiting for something in your areas that might not be as used. So the goal is to try to compact it as much as possible, avoid lead times, and they're like, all right, hold off, maybe 4 weeks or 6 weeks to start, then we can get it done. That much faster. But we hope that as we get closer to that.
Kind of the way of the world right now.
Yeah,
Thanks.
unfortunately.
We got two questions. One, the door. So hopefully everybody caught that door. And it was one thing we had talked about pretty extensively. Was whether we want to have it. And one of the reasons to have it was a safety. It was more of a safety issue, in case any small kids wants to take off, and it kind of held. It kind of holds them, right? But a little bit different than what we were talking about is that in the presentation you're talking about that it's going to be later on. That it's going to be in a different phase. So what are we thinking about as far as doing that?
If we were to do the doors, it would be, it could be for further consideration down the road, but we're taking it out as in, we were thinking that it's probably not going to happen. What we're thinking possibly in a different phase is looking at that entrance in general and doing something more elaborate. The entrance as it exists.
Right. And then my second question has to come with the budget. Y'all know I can be, it's the right word, annoying. when it comes to the budget, and you know, I wanted to go over. So here's my concern. I appreciate all the comments you were making about trying to be, you know, cognizant of all that. Okay, so thank you very much for that. Prices though are going crazy. And, you know, there's a chance that we could see some of these things, once they actually go out to bid, skyrocket over what they currently are. So is there any thought process or any concepts of, I know you talked about some things that we might take out, but is there any other areas that we can sit back and go, okay, this particular area we could do without? So we're not going way over the budget.
Yeah, so those are those couple of things that were listed in there as potentially pulling out.
Yep.
Now, the numbers that you saw tonight were fresh from SMC. So they're looking at like current market pricing right now. And that's kind of one of the things that SMC just returned to us. And so we actually reduced our escalation from 5% to 2% because we think that the numbers are actually very accurate. And we may be going out to bid very soon. So these should be pretty close to where we are. But that safety net is, of course, those things that we could pull out.
So 419, see, I was taking that slide, thinking pulled out that those were already factored in. But those are the additional things that we could pull, that we could actually pull out. Okay.
So
All
the
right,
four
I'll
at
get that.
19 does remove the front door entrance.
But it does.
That is excluded still, just to.
But other things
Yeah,
that
but the
were
other
removed.
things.
But the other things that were listed on there were things that would still be removed.
Okay.
So.
I mean,
My question is, on the wish list, if you had to pick like one thing on the wish list, what would it be?
To make sure we get or.
No, I mean, you know, there's a wish list of 5 things. I'm just curious as to if you have, maybe you don't all agree on what the wish list would be, but.
I'm gonna let them speak to that because they're the ones, this is their space, so.
oh boy.
I mean, I think that doors are high on our list, but I know that there is. I think that the soffit removal would really make the library better as far as the visual in, but I mean, like that is just that
Yeah.
for that.
I live in the Lindsay room just because it doesn't make sense to me to get a sink and have carpeting in that room. So I would say that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say the hub, but. So that's good. I'm glad I asked. All right. Thank you.
You know, we want to be very cognizant of a budget, but I don't want to nickel and dime this. And I have found in my experience that it's better to have a budget that has maybe a little cushion in it. And so I'm not really for taking that 5% to 2%. I think that 5% should stay in. And because if it's not, then we're going back and we're cutting more. And I agree, we've gone, you know, and I appreciate what Mike is doing, but you're gonna have maintenance things with carpeting in those 2 areas, with food and with water. It does not make sense. Now, there's probably all different kinds of LVT tiles, so you're gonna have to go the most expensive, but
Yes.
you know, something that,
And we did look at that,
Yes.
we looked at different options and different.
yeah, it
costs
doesn't have to have a
and then-
fancy pattern and all that, but I really, you know, you wanna do it right. Otherwise, we're coming back, it gets back into the budget at some point. You know, 2 years, we're gonna replace the carpet with this. And so I just feel it's good to do it right in the first way. And this is not like a $2 million project. So, you know, but those are my thoughts. Maybe it's because I have, in the past, when we've done a budget and then there's been some changes and we really had to increase. And there was not from the board, but there was criticism from the public. And said, that was just a budget. That was just a guide. But, you know, these other things have come up like plumbing or something like that, and it increased the budget. And we did not want to have to cut, you know. But that's my thoughts.
I just want to clarify, the escalation that we reduced from 5% to 2% is really just to accommodate the inflation. And
I
we've
know.
already, this inflation has pushed us so far on this
I know.
budget as it is. So the escalation, 2% escalation is just between now and when we go to bid on this. And it could go up.
It
but-
could go up, yeah, and we just have to realize
Yeah.
that it might, 2% may not, we could keep it in there, but it may not be enough.
Right,
Yeah.
and we do have a pretty healthy contingency in there also,
Good.
10%, which we had at 15%. But SMC's been out and they've looked the place over, and that's when we found the issue with the plumbing meeting.
So maybe you won't find any more surprises.
Well, I don't want to say that, but we still do have a healthy contingency in there on top of that escalation.
Good.
So there is conservative numbers built in.
Okay.
And, I don't, I mean, when we go to
Well,
bid,
bidding
hopefully.
will tell it all,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Look, I agree with you. I agree with you about the nickel and diming. You know, we do want, right? So I'm actually gonna make a statement, maybe a little character for me. The door, we had some discussions about that. I remember that, about why do we need this? Why do we need this? And we came up with some really good reasons why we wanted to include that in there. I don't know how the rest of the trustees feel, but I would be interested to see what the budget looks like with that cost in it, just to see what it does to it.
Yeah, and I get the impression, Trixie, you want the door, right? You're in charge of the department, right? And you know the kids better than anybody, because they're not so.
Is this an automatic door? Is this, yeah,
Automatic signing, yes.
yeah.
So you want the door, right? So I agree with trustee President Zick that we put the door back in.
Well,
We just heard about our finances, you guys.
Let's look at the numbers.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
no, I mean, but I think it should be back in there. Let's see what it looks like. I mean, it's up to you all. I mean, the door's kinda-
You're a big spender, aren't you?
Yeah, right.
Thanks a lot.
The door is kind of important.
Speaking of doors,
I'm taking my memo. Go ahead.
No, I don't think it would hurt to. Take a look at what those figures will be.
All right, okay. Well, yeah, we'll be happy to look at that again.
Good. Any other comments, questions?
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
thank
Thanks
you.
for filling in.
Okay. Keep moving forward here. Action item 6, authorization to engage consultant for strategic planning services.
Okay, so we discussed the strategic planning services at the committee of the whole meeting, and at the September committee of the whole meeting. This is being brought back for further review, discussion, and or approval. Did just make a couple minor changes to the memo. One on page 2, just that I included that Sarah Armstrong, who is the leader of this organization, is a former trustee of the Illinois Library Association, reaching across Illinois library system and the Fremont Public Library District. So she does have extensive library experience. So that was a question that had come up. So I just wanted to include that, and just that references have been checked and are positive. I think that's all that I have to say about that.
I was gonna make a motion.
Motion.
I would like to make a motion to authorize staff to engage Sarah Keister Armstrong and Associates for an amount not to exceed $26,000 for consulting services to develop a strategic plan pending attorney review of the contract.
Second,
Discussion. So with respect to stakeholder input, what, can you describe to me what her plans are for stakeholder input? You know, we had the community group, we did an engagement, I mean, significant stakeholder input.
Yeah, so it would be focus groups, another community survey likely, just based on, my conversations with her in the proposal. Those would be the major areas in which we would be collecting input. She has a pretty big emphasis on her metrics and, the numbers.
Right,
So
I
she'd
saw
be,
that.
doing some digging as to our makeup of our community. We'd also be surveying staff and getting staff input as well.
I also would think she could get a lot of those numbers from the village because they did a lot of that with their equity, diversity, and inclusiveness. They have all those numbers that are less than a year old.
Any more comments, questions, discussion on this one? Do you have a motion? Put your roll call, please.
Trustee Gala,
Yes.
trustee Meadow.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes,
Trustee Samari.
Yes.
Trustee Suckler.
Yes.
President Zip.
Yes. Okay, let's go on to action item 7. So here we are. Adoption of a resolution declaring a trustee vacancy. I'm going to read the resolution into the records. Resolution 22-03, resolution declaring a trustee vacancy, Debbie Smart vacancy. Whereas Debbie Smart, I think it's what's new, was previously as elected as a library trustee for a term which expires in April 2023. And whereas Smart recently retired effective September 30th, 2022. And whereas following a retirement, a vacancy in the office of library trustee shall be declared by the library board. And whereas vacancy shall be filled by appointment of the library trustee. Now therefore be it resolved by the library trustees of the Arlington Heights Memorial Library that the library trustees hereby declare a vacancy in the office of library trustee effective September 30th, 2022. Intend to fill the vacancy by appointment until the next regular election in April 2023. Any comments, questions on that one? Okay, can you roll call on that one, please?
Well, I'll move that we
Yes.
accept the resolution as read by President Zick.
Second?
Yes, second.
Trustee Gala.
Yes.
Trustee Meadow.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
well, I guess, yes.
Trustee Samari.
Yes.
Trustee Suckler.
Yes.
President Zip.
You just voted yourself out of
I should have
line.
I thought about abstaining, but I said no. let's do it.
Chris, we didn't kick you out.
Okay, we are going to go on to new business, and this is going to be action item 8, resolution honoring the service of Debbie.
Get something to eat.
So this is gonna be long. I mean, it's really long and thick. Thick.
Read all this? Okay, you ready? Resolution 22-04, honoring the service of Debbie Smart. Whereas Debbie Smart has served with distinction on the Board of Library Trustees of the Arlington Heights Memorial Library from 2011 to 2022. And whereas she is celebrated for her commitment to the library's vision and values and her knowledge of the community and its needs. And whereas Debbie Smart was instrumental in the acquisition and design of new community makerspace focused on providing the next generation of library services and encouraging the advancement in technology and expertise offered to library customers. And whereas she was a great supporter of the Friends of the Library organization, whose support has been invaluable, having provided over $1.8 million in gifts to the library. Whereas Debbie Smart was a key contributor in the establishment of the Arlington Heights Memorial Library Foundation, which provides support to the library in its quest to reach and serve all members of the community. And whereas she has served the library and the Arlington Heights community by advocating for diverse, high-quality services, fair and equitable policies to encourage library use and participated in the implementation of a fine-free library. And whereas Debbie Smart was influential in the library's recognition of LGBTQ+ Pride Month and the flying of the rainbow flag. And whereas she served on the national level with the United for Libraries Board, division of the American Library Association, ALA. And whereas Debbie Smart was named 2019 Trustee of the Year by the Illinois Library Association, a citation awarded to a public library trustee for achievement, leadership, and service to libraries, stating Debbie is a constant and vocal supporter of her library and every library as the place that brings the community together. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Library Trustees recognizes and sincerely thanks Debbie Smart for her years of service and for all she has contributed to the library and to the Arlington Heights community. And
Sorry.
furthermore, be it resolved that the board extends its appreciation along with its best wishes for success in her future endeavors, adopted the 20th day of September 2022 by the Board of Library Trustees. We have a motion.
I'll move that we accept resolution 2204 honoring the service of Debbie Smart as read by President Zick.
I second.
Trustee Ballard,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
I'll abstain.
trustee Samari,
Yes.
trustee Sucklet,
Aye.
president Sim.
Yes. Debbie, thank you very
Thank
much.
you, guys. It's been an honor.
And we have one more thing.
One more thing.
Oh,
Just from the trustees for the board that, I guess now this is, just that a brick has been donated in your honor at North School Park as permanent remembrance of your contributions to the library and to the community. So it won't be installed until spring because of, that's when it's
well, my
installed.
family has. a
What you have,
certificate, so that's
you have a
okay.
certificate, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have a little something for you all. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Mary, I'm looking for a minute, okay?
Can we do this now?
I need this. I got to follow something by trustees. With a thank you from me.
I have my cell phone in here. Okay, hold on.
Just swore on live.
Yes, sure, live TV.
So I snuck in earlier today, and I have something for each of you. You know how I like my gifts. Here, this is for you. I got you iced tea, because I know,
Thank you.
I know you don't like.
I like iced tea. I do.
Okay,
I like
this is for
iced
you.
tea. Southern sweet lemon.
Thank you. Sarah. Trustee Sucklet, geez. I bought them at the $1.25, so I'm sorry. This is Greg.
Very nice.
$18.5% alcohol. Are you trying to tell me something?
What is it?
It's fine. Everybody got a little wine. I thought you could. At the meeting here
After the
tonight.
meeting.
Yeah, Greg, I want you to open up that. Best gift I've ever given anybody. Because you are a big boy. You told us you were. It took me a long time to find that, but it is a gay big boy t-shirt. for me. I want you to wear that proudly on the boat and send me pictures, please.
That is
You know how long it took me to find that?
We had a discussion about big boy in the past.
Yeah, so there you go,
There you
okay?
go.
He's a big boy.
Yes, you got forbidden socks. So I bought you the banned word socks from ALA, and you can't read the words because they've been banned. And you got something else in there.
Thank you.
You got a little candle, you got your own candle too. There's a girl's gonna, you got a beer candle,
Oh, nice. And thanks for me.
and you got your booze. Okay, thank you, guys. It's been an honor to work with all of you. It's been an honor to work with our staff and just one of the most incredible libraries there is in the country. You know, I'm going out on a high note, so I can say all those good things now that you wrote in my resolution. And you have all the problems now. No, I'm kidding. But it's been just a blast and I appreciate it. And, you know, it's time for some new blood. So, but you'll see me around because I'll be checking out a lot of things and not having any library fines, which is the most exciting for me. So, thank you. I appreciate this. That's pretty cool.
Okay, so we're gonna go on to action item 9. Trustee Supplet asks us to put in the request to fly the Native American flag for Native American Heritage Month, which I believe is November, correct?
Yes. So in keeping with policy 7.007, use of flags on library property, I move that we consider flying the Native American flag for Native American Heritage Month in November 2022.
I'll second.
Discussion.
So we have a motion, yeah, let's have a discussion. So this is the first time that since the first night in May, that we've come up with this. that this has come up. So obviously we have to kind of just make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row, I guess, over each phrase. So we've got three considerations of what's going to go on. The first one is whether the United States or the state of Illinois has recognized the flag or caused through statute or proclamation or other official communication, National Heritage Month or National Awareness Month. So this is, when the trustee does bring it up, this is to the trustee's responsibility to make sure that all these functions are taken care of. So.
Yes,
first of all,
yes, it is a national heritage month. That's,
Okay, and then whether the flag represents a national, state, or local interest is consistent with the library's mission, values, mission, vision, values, or official sentiment.
sure, absolutely. It's DEI all the way, ID all the way.
Okay. Everybody? Okay, let's make sure we're going through that. And whether the flag represents a positive interest or value worthy of public recognition is consistent with the library's mission, vision, values, or official sentiments. Personally, I think it covers all three. Is everybody good with all that? Oh, and the last one is there is a flag, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
Is there? Okay.
yeah,
Look, there's a number of different ones, so we would just.
a nice one.
So yeah,
Nice
let's
one.
Yeah, no, it is. They have.
We have one, it's got all the times represented. This one's important.
Well, yeah,
As a Native American, I can tell you.
okay.
So has this been federally approved? I mean, through executive order has been deemed.
It's, yeah. Yeah, this
I'm
is
just
a
wondering
national heritage
If
month.
it is
for
flown
executive.
on federal property.
Well, every year, the national heritage months are subject to change. So whether it has in the past wouldn't necessarily apply to this year if it's a new national heritage month. This is one that has been consistent along with.
That's my only, is that it's been flown on federal.
That's a good point. So if it has been, let's make sure that as we're looking at the flags, you're saying there's a number of them that we go along.
Yeah, there's the one that represents all the Indians. Yeah.
What?
That's the one that's been federally approved.
I just feel that was the one, I felt like that has been our, when we were discussing legality and to make sure that we were taking, those steps, that was the backup, and that was our secure, that was there. So I apologize, I did not
Oh, that's
see
fine.
that, but I do want to see.
It's a
No, I mean, I
discussion.
haven't looked that up, so I do need to, that's my.
Yeah. It's what we-
Yeah, that's and that is the most important probably aspect of this whole thing is that we do make sure that we cover that. And what we probably should wind up doing as we go forward with all these, with any other requests that come up, is let's make sure that we bring that forward, that we've got the documentation, that it's in the pack, that we keep it. I did do some looking, and I did see it, so I personally am comfortable with it
I got it from reading into the record if you like, I have it right here. In 1990, Congress passed and President George H.W. Bush signed into law the joint resolution designating the month of November as the first National American Indian Heritage Month. Your copy if you want it, but it's,
Right,
okay, so it is.
right. No, I just mean that the flag has been flown. That it's an awareness month and it is by executive order acknowledged. I just mean that the flag has actually been flown because.
My question is, are we doing this by request, or are we making sure that we acknowledge all of the heritage months? We are in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month right now, September 15th, October 15th, and we didn't, this didn't come up to fly the flag because there was, not a request. So my concern is, doing it for one, we need to be conscious of the other heritage months too that have been recognized.
Right, and the way that the policy is written, it is subject to the board's request. so that a trustee can bring it to the board for consideration, and then the board has the option to accept or reject that request. There's also the Irish Heritage Month was one.
Mhm.
French Heritage Month was another. And I would not be comfortable flying a nation's flag under our own or under the Illinois state flag on the same flagpole as the American standard. I respect the heritage those months represent, but I don't see it necessary nor appropriate that we're flying the flag of another nation.
Yeah, I don't even know. There's probably a special flag for Hispanic Heritage Month because it's a number of countries.
It's Hispanic, yeah,
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 Hispanic.
it's a number of
Right.
countries. It's they all received their independence during this month. That's why it's the middle of the month to the middle of the month.
Right.
I just don't want to be questioned about this and saying, well, it's just the board's purview.
Well,
I
I think that's a great point. It is the board's purview. That's how it was written. But I think we're also still learning as we're going here.
Well,
So,
you'll see what you receive from the public.
the fact that it's the American Heritage Month, I think gives us a lot of comfort in that we're just recognizing cultures who have lived in, which is a consideration that would be different than if it was Irish, French, or Hispanic. Same conversation when I think on other months, that potentially for other months as well.
There's Pan-Pacific Month and Asian Pacific, excuse me.
Black History Month is February,
Yeah.
Women's History Month is March. Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. But you could say, well, Asian American Pacific Islanders, so those are grounded in the United States. But I think you're right. These are that's part of the conversation, absolutely. September's Latinx Heritage Month, right?
It's tricky. I would not be comfortable with, even though I'm Irish and Italian, that because there's another nation right now in Ireland, in Italy. I think Native Americans, were here before any of our ancestors, so we kind of all follow that tradition a bit. And I know that a lot of governing bodies or universities have an indigenous something that they read before they start meetings saying that we want to acknowledge that this library was built on the land that used to be the Potawatomi tribe or whatever. I get it. It's tricky, and yet in my estimation, because this is sort of all encompassing in the United States of America, it's a little bit different. But I recognize the challenges.
Well, and there's nothing to say a year from now that somebody wouldn't request. It could be as appropriate as anything. This is one that I think, to me, is deserving of particular recognition. And I hope that y'all would support it. This is important. This is good that we're having this conversation.
Any thoughts, comments? Okay, so we do need a motion.
We have
There
a
was
motion
and a second.
and a second.
Was it?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have the motion.
I completely missed that. Okay.
Actually,
Was
can I
that?
say one more thing?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
now that we have that, I guess, part of my thought is, I take very seriously what the comments from the public and also, our staff, our board, whatever we, it's really trying to take in everything, but understanding that, the big thing of if it's the slippery slope, we're even here, we're all sitting here like, okay, what about this? What about this? And it almost feels like we're not ready. And that can be different in everybody's vote, but that was a big decision back. It was a big thing in May. I mean, it was, and I really, I just think with that federal flying and a lot of officials and representatives that I talked to, even throughout the country, I'm losing my words of that factor that it's flown on federal land, on property. I mean, that's capital, that was the.
No, we get the point. That's fine. Don't sweat it.
You want me to?
Don't sweat the details.
No, but so that I guess is just, if I should vote no, I do want to say that it's not that I don't think it's important. And I think that what we just are saying is that everything is everybody's, diversity and understanding. But just that I don't know if we're ready to start jumping in, if we're not ready to support that legally. So.
One of the things that we have to remember, and conversation we've already had, is that this is not necessarily an exclusion or an inclusion type of thing. This is something where a particular trustee or cause that may come up to a trustee is making a decision on do we want to fly a particular one. It's not saying that we're excluding anybody else in particular, but it's meaning that this is a cause that we found that it makes sense for this particular item. So I think that's one of the things that is we have these conversations going forward. We have to remember that. Now, I do agree with you, John, that we're going to learn as we go forward. But we do have to remember, though, the effect that we're doing right now is regardless if we're learning or not, it's out there.
Yeah.
What we're doing. So we've got to be very cognizant, and our words mean a lot in this particular type of thing. So take that into consideration, I think, when you're thinking about your vote on this.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do we, from a library perspective, program to this month? Do we know? Anybody? I mean, that might be something we should. And we program to a lot of other months, right?
Questions, comments, discussion? Yeah, we will help you.
Trustee Miller,
No.
trustee Middle,
Have to vote no.
trustee Smart,
Yes.
trustee Samari,
Yes.
trustee Suplet,
Yes.
president Zip.
Yes. Motion passes. All right, thank you for the discussion.
Just, again, I mean, I really do get the point. But the way it's described, the Library of Congress, National Archives and Records Administration, National Endowment of Humanities, National Gallery of Art, National Park Service, Smithsonian, and I'd say it's Holocaust Memorial Museum, joy in paying tribute to the rich history of traditions of Native Americans. I mean, this is as far as the information takes us.
There also is a memo from the Department of Interior that they're flying at are all national parks.
Yeah.
I just don't feel that, I feel that, I guess I understood the policy more to be that if a recommendation was coming forward, the board would weigh that, not the board making the recommendation, because
Well, our recommendation is to Mike. We're making this recommendation to Mike.
Right, but I just feel that we're excluding, so now it's up to Sarah, me, or you or Amy to say, hey, we better get Asian Pacific, we better get Hispanic, we don't want anyone thinking that we're excluding, and staff may get that from, I don't know, people coming in, well, you flew that, how come you didn't fly the Hispanic heritage? I mean, you know, if, I know this is our community, but I'll tell you, if you were in some other communities, Mexican Independence Day was huge
Oh, yeah.
this year. Well, Chicago, yeah,
Yeah.
tie up down in Chicago, so it's, and part of it is coming out of COVID, you know, all of a sudden everybody can party now, and so I know that, but then it'll calm down, but still, it's very much
Maybe it makes sense.
celebrated.
Maybe it makes sense next year then to work with staff because they know fairly early on what they celebrate. They do the same thing, I think, pretty much every year. To get a list from them to the board of what they celebrate so that that can be considered. I mean, it's a brand new procedure, so.
I think we want to be careful with that aspect because this is not a staff function. This is the Board of Trustees function.
But that's reference. That's all.
It is reference.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Mike, for the next board meeting, could you give us some ideas? Obviously, we, all go through the newsletter very carefully and see what's promoted on social media. But if you could give us a heads up on what programming is specific in the future. Because I'm guessing there may be some programming for this. I'm guessing there's some Women's History Month programming and probably some Black History Month programming. So just more than we can find on the website or in the mailer. I mean, because they're planning it. I'm sure that people are already planning it, not to say to plan it, but just what's in the pipeline.
Which are, state this, make sure I'm understanding what your request is here. You want to know what concepts or what, can't think of the right word here. What activities we're looking at, what kind of.
Just what areas they're, I'm guessing, I'm just gonna say, maybe there's 4 things specific to Women's History Month that they're doing, maybe something's in Kids World, something's in the Hub, a couple adult programs. I'm assuming that the programming department is already working on that, making the contacts, thinking about it. Maybe the details aren't ironed out, but just knowing that, yes, the programming department is thinking of celebrating Women's History Month with your programs or something.
Yeah, I don't know if, this is getting really close. I mean, newsletter is probably already in production for November. So you may not have any programs, but I think we need to support this vote with at least a display, a book display or something, so that something is tied in. If there's not a program, then there is, at the very least, a book. And of course, we've got, I'm sure,
We'll do
quite a few
both.
books, in
Yeah.
of the history and all of that. Yeah.
A few years ago, we did have one of the chapters from Chicago come out and they did some traditional dances. I remember that. Remember, all right, Tracy?
That is the
Yeah.
plan we had, but this
Yeah.
board understand that programming, wait, what do I want to say the first? Newsletter drives programming, or do I want to say it the other way? Programming drives the newsletter. Programming drives a newsletter. If it's not the newsletter, that's our best form of advertisement. Still, I'm sure, Arlington still is in Elgin, that's for sure. So, just to pop a program in there, you're doing a lot of work and you may not get many results because people don't know about it.
Right. With social media, we could promote it.
Yeah, you can, but
It's not, it's not.
the newsletter is still critical.
Yeah, my feeling.
Just, it came up before, but have we considered a second flagpole? I mean, I don't mean, you know what I mean? Because
Yes, the
I
physics
really-
are being challenged.
right, I just mean I think it's really important to recognize as many as we can. And I think the whole thing we had issues with that one flagpole, if we get banners, get flags, if we really want to be all encompassing, I'm all for that. It just seems like this one flagpole is my
The budget.
issue, so.
But they're not that expensive.
Put them in our, put a hole in the ground is.
I just mean a
Yeah, I mean, you have to
consideration. I
put
don't-
concrete base in there, so, but there's a-
Well, look at I mean, for a week and a half, the flag's been flying at half mast. You know, so if we can, you'd have another flag almost on the ground, you know, if we had it underneath there.
I mean,
So-
it's a small flag.
And I'll tell you,
Maker
half
Place is taller than
flags
that.
are being flown at half mast all the time.
Yeah.
All the
Right.
time. So.
Thank you for the thoughtful discussion.
Any discussion?
I mean,
Okay.
support.
Okay, excuse me. We're going on to other, and I know one of the things is the Maker Place Anniversary Open House, September 29th.
Yeah, so we're just celebrating the 1 year, the Maker Place being open. The actual anniversary is September 19th, but, you know, due to schedules and stuff like that, we're doing a open house on the 29th. So there'll be demonstrations in the kitchen, in the fabrication room, stuff like that. So it's from 4 to 6 p.m. on September 29th. So just want to encourage all of you to attend if possible.
We put that on the calendar.
Yes, it is.
A couple more things for other, I want to recognize Maria. She is only with us for a short time longer. She is moving on to another library. But she's going to Skokie.
So.
I moved there, so.
Oh, you moved there? Oh, okay, then we'll forgive you.
So-
Cool.
So just want to pass on best wishes to Maria.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
Yeah, very best to you.
Really enjoyed working here. and,
A similar job or different or?
Okay, then the last thing I wanted to mention was the Park District parking lot. So this was something that I emailed you guys about, and I have the drawings I can bring up on the projector, but wanted to have an initial discussion about this. When we first opened the Maker Place, we had talked about parking being an issue. The Park District said if they ever developed that lot over across the street and south a little bit, that we would, you know, be able to work with them on it and partner with them on it. They've recently been working on a new proposal for renovation of this tennis courts and the playground over there. And their initial plans do include a new parking lot, and they were wondering if we would be interested in working with them on it and partnering with them. So Greg, watch your eyes. I'm going to bring up the plan. Now the initial plan that we looked at last year when they were looking at, or a couple of years ago, actually, when they were looking at doing renovation over there, the parking lot was a little bit farther south. In this, they are moving the tennis courts south a little bit and then putting the parking lot on the north side of that, so closer to the playground. Now
We're up here.
we're up here, here's the makerspace. So it's a little bit farther north than the plans that we saw previously. But they are looking to do this, and was wondering if we would be interested in partnering with them on this lot. So Carrie did send some initial details. She's estimating the lot to be $183,000. The Park District is proposing a 50-50 contribution between the library and the Park District. So that is for discussion here, and you know, so we don't have to make a decision this evening, but just something for discussion as we're planning the budget. It'd be nice if we're going to do something to get it in.
So we would
Is that it?
potentially have 8 new spots, right, if we're sharing it.
No, 16.
No. You could finish like 0.
Right. You know, I was looking online trying to figure out how much money the Park District has. It was not easy to find.
That's the
I
whole idea.
am very interested in knowing that because I don't know, that's a lot of money. I would rather spend it on the kids' world. But I am curious, how is parking at Maker Place? Do people complain about it? Do they find street parking?
We haven't had too many vocal complaints. Dana, I don't know if you've heard anything.
No, I'm.
So the neighbors aren't complaining.
I
I mean, we haven't had many vocal complaints about parking, and that was the thing we were most concerned about going into this
Right.
space with the small parking lot. We were able to expand the parking at the Maker Place to, I think we have 12 spots over there now. You know, we say there's on-street parking, but we do have programs with, 16, 20 people.
Well, if I may. So my thought is,
The time is now 8:30 and the library will be closing at 6. Please use the time to check out your items and finish your computers and equipment. Please return all library laptops, computers, and technical tests in time. Thank you.
when it, the first question is what's in it for us? And what's in it for us is that it relieves the pressure of parking on the street and is better for the neighborhood. That to me is what's in it for us. Is that a 50-50 split for parking stalls that are going to be used for tennis and the children's
That's the
playground?
point.
Right,
There's
and
no guarantee
Are they
unless
gonna-
they have signs up.
And you can't do that. You can't put
Right.
these are reserved for.
I wonder if they're gonna put
They
pickleball
are.
courts there, because that's gonna be super crowded.
They
there,
are-
and
they are
They're
putting
gonna take
pickleball.
all those spots.
Yeah, pretty good.
What is K? Okay. Okay.
It's another playground.
Fitness equipment.
Oh, this,
Oh,
yeah. I think it's
like
like-
outside fitness equipment?
And G would be horseshoes. Bag costs. Yeah, see, they're more than reconfiguring the parking.
Mhm.
the
And
whole
what they're
package.
doing is they're putting in parking for the fitness equipment, the bag costs, and tennis/pickleball,
Mhm.
which is swell. We're not gonna see 50% of the use of that parking lot.
That's correct. All their new court designs are gonna be multi-use pickleball and tennis.
Yeah, I mean, they've reconfigured, which is fabulous,
Yeah.
but it's,
Mhm.
we're not going to see a return on our investment.
Of 50%.
Right, well, the maker
Anywhere near
place
50%.
isn't open every day, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, that right there, I don't think we need that.
And are they gonna have lights in the tennis courts? Probably,
I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so that's nice,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Lot 10 is the gravel lot, right? The one right below it, that's the gravel.
H.
H.
H is the gravel. Yeah.
H or
Well,
U,
that right
might be
next
where
to
U is.
Talking about right here, right?
Yeah.
That's gravel rock, gravel lot.
It might be actually a little bit north of that. That might be the
Yeah.
house that's.
Right, it's the house,
It might be
right.
the-
Yeah.
I don't know,
Lot 10, that's why.
I feel like where I live, north of there, if I go to the Maker Place, I park on the street, any of the streets around, like before I get to it. And a lot of Arlington Heights lives north of the Maker Place. I also, I live on Chestnut, I live across the street from a park, there's always cars on my street. It doesn't bug me it doesn't bug me. It's not like the Maker Place is open till midnight and there are people wildly partying. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If Lori has her way, let's see.
I just want to say something, a couple of things maybe. One, I want to remind everybody that when we were trying to get the Maker's Place, they offered this to us right up front and were very supportive of our project. Now, I totally agree that it shouldn't be a 50-50 split, but I think we should at least consider some good faith type contribution to them because they were partners with us.
Yeah.
And we actually used this parking lot as part of our sales point to the village of Arlington Heights. So I find it
I don't
kind of
remember
hard.
that.
Yes, we did. So I find it a little hard now that we're gonna say, hey, by the way, we're not gonna help you.
We said that.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't. We said,
Yes.
no, nobody said we were gonna say no. We just said we weren't gonna get our return of 50%.
I agree, but we also said we were getting approval that with this parking lot was
Well,
already
that
coming.
was a lot.
No, it wasn't. The mayor just said something to me
Sarah and I
tonight.
weren't on the-
So
Yeah,
I just am saying, I think at some point in time, we need to be.
No, I think,
people of our word.
I
So
think
some
we're- I think
contribution.
we're good. I think we're good with supporting their reconfiguration of the central western end of the park, which is what this represents.
And I don't think a
then-
somewhat, some kind of financial contribution would not be a bad thing. I'm not saying
But
50%.
but my comment is, I'll finish my comment by saying, but we don't see us having need of access to that area at 50% of the time. And I would leave it as that. Not tell them, oh, 20, let them come back with another one. They know.
Yeah, say, we looked at the map and
They
it's
knew.
clearly been, yeah, but this was the first blush at this. But I'm just saying, we did say that, and I just think we should be.
I said it on those meetings.
I know you're okay.
I just.
I don't,
I'm just gonna.
September 30th can't come sooner for me.
I'm just gonna throw in, actually, Debbie, I was gonna say the exact same thing. Yes, we have talked with the park district about partnering with this. So we do need to have the right discussion. What that number is, I think it's really kind of hard and impossible to say. Because if we have a bunch of people from the makerspace that comes and takes up all 16 of that means that they can't. That's gonna happen. It's probably more likely the other way. But what I will also say is that, yes, individually in front of our houses, I've got a park with 3 softball fields in front of me, and I've got people parking there all the time. I love it, actually. But that's not how everybody's gonna feel in that neighborhood. So we have to also take them into consideration too when we're doing this, and make sure that we're making decisions to try to alleviate any potential issues that are over there. So yeah, I think we do need to continue having discussions with them and trying to figure out what's that mathematical formula. I don't know what that's gonna be, and I'm sorry that you have to do that, Mike, but I think that's kind of where we need to try to figure out and then go from there.
Quarter total 183.
Yeah.
183, 16 equals, it's about 11,500 a parking place.
That's about what it is right now, 12 grand. But I also want to point out something too that we need to remember. Are we still not using some of their spaces for our employee parking?
Yeah, I think we need to use some.
So let's all remember that. Remember they volunteered to let our employees park
Where
in their
those 50
lots?
parking stalls are. So
Our
they-
You want
employees
to park
park-
over there and walking over? there?
Yes.
have access
They
to-
let our employees, now, let's remember that happened day one. So
That's
they
nice.
have been very good partners with us.
That's nice.
Sure was. And we mentioned it in our presentation, did we not?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we put all the cards on the table, so to speak, for the park district. Because that's where I'm
Well,
going
then,
next.
well, first of all, I think it's weird the way they introduce the discussion. I just think it's flat out weird. But, all right, we're having it anyway. And why can't we just have dedicated employee parking spots in those 16 stalls? If we can have, if we're parking over there, we can park over in B and say, all right, 4 spots are dedicated for member space during the
It
day.
would be more amenable, spending more money. That's fewer pickleball spots.
Well, I gotta park over there.
So I think.
More exploration.
Mike's gonna have an additional conversation. I think you got the vibe.
Yeah.
I could be a consultant.
Oh, there. All right. Moving on.
All right, moving on, Dre. Okay, any other?
I actually do have another. And our discussion on the flag reminded me of it today. Just because I've gone to village trustee board meeting and the 214 board meeting, I noticed that all of those meetings start with a pledge allegiance, and I think we should do that. And I think that we should have a flag in our room for us to do that, and I would like to discuss that.
Yes.
Sure.
I gotta buy another flag.
And a flag pole.
I mean, it just seems like if all the other local boards do
Yeah.
that. we should do that.
Yeah.
Is it an Anderson one? We have them, we just have to dust it off.
Yes, we have.
You know, I'm just
We have a
thinking, we probably should have flags in all the meeting rooms. Do we have it in the cardinal room? You know, if a group is meeting and wants to do the pledge. I don't know if we even have them in all our meeting rooms.
I wouldn't put them in all of them, but it's gotta be, like your point is be accessible.
But, you know, I mean,
Right.
if
They want
you're
it.
opening up to the public, you know, and,
Mhm.
you know, they might, they might do the pledge and
Yeah.
look into that. But I'm not gonna-
Okay, so I think what we do need to do is the policy for our schedule, for our agenda, I believe needs to be updated. So to include that. So I think we need to, yeah, just bring it to the next meeting, the policy meeting.
The other. Can we have a motion to go into closed session, please?
I'll move that we go into closed session in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2C3, the selection of a person to fill a public office.
Second,
I'll second.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes.
We'll break for a couple
We are
of
going
minutes.
into closed session. Thank you all very much.
That was so much fun. You didn't know it was so entertaining. Tonight was entertainment night.
Okay.
Well, thank you. We're good? Okay, we are going back into open session for the Board of Library Trustees for Halifax Memorial Library. Written date for September 20th, 2022. Go around the table real quick with the trustees.
John Sufflet.
Amy Samari.
Carol Meadow.
Sarah Gallo.
Debbie Smart.
Greg Zick. Okay. First of all, do we have a motion for approval of minutes from closed session?
I move that we approve the minutes from closed session from September 1.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion passes. Motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? No. Roll call.
Trustee Gallo.
Nice try.
Yes.
That's what he said.
Trustee Meadow.
Yes.
Trustee Smart.
Yes.
Trustee Simone.
I.
Trustee Stefan.
Aye.
Yes. Thanks, Debbie.
All right, well done.
Well done, everybody.
Great
Thank
day,
you.
team.
All right. Everything together
I'm
here.
more than a little.
Thank you, you guys, very much. for this.
More than a little.
I'll take a picture of me and that's tomorrow.
You need one, Jen? You really need one? I can get you one.
You know a guy?
I got it. I'll get you one.